welcome to the Simply Be Found Huddle. My name is Rob, and this is Dean. We are the co-founders of Simply Be Found. We cut these huddles as 100% unedited, completely raw. And no, that does not mean we're going to talk raw. I can talk raw, but I don't think
Yeah,
anybody wants to hear it.
then we have to declare ourselves an R-rated video then or podcast.
It
We
might
don't
go
do that.
X-rated. Screw the R-rated if we're going to go that way. All
Okay,
right. So,
anyway.
so one of the big things I'm hearing a lot out there is I'm hearing AEO marketing. We've touched on this on a couple other huddles. We've touched on it in the past. It's just another acronym for marketers to be able to take something and twist it, because I really truly agree with kind of what we were talking about the other day on the podcast, and the whole piece of all it is propaganda and people coming up with a bunch of stuff to make it feel like, you're buying stuff. I mean, we kind of did the same thing when we started talking about NAP SW, but I mean, as a small business owners don't understand it. Enterprise, I'm not sure gets it, but it sounds good inside of a boardroom. And marketing agencies, they love it because they could now say another thing to a small business owner to confuse them and to sell them another product.
Yeah, no. So what? In my opinion, it's just a repackaging of content in a different format. Do you agree with that statement?
It is. I mean, it's one of those things to where inside of sales, even if we go back to Dale Carnegie and how to win friends and influence people and all the different stuff that's ever been done inside of sales, it all comes down to giving something and putting it there. I mean, when I started my first marketing agency in 2008, I used to get clients to come in and buy website packages and learn how to do social media by going to the local library. I would hold on a free conference and they could attend for free. And I'd teach them how to be able to get their business inside of Facebook, because Facebook was brand new for businesses. It was a hot thing back then. But I wasn't allowed to sell anything inside of the library.
Right.
But what I was allowed to do is I could teach. So I would teach people how to do all of it. And then somebody inside of that room, if anybody even showed up, there was times that, one person showed up, no people showed up. I think the max I ever got was like 25 different businesses in there. And I was ecstatic. But it's one of those things to where somebody would always ask, if someone was there, is that what you do? Well, what do you charge to do that? And I mean, we've came a long way since 2008, but that teaching piece, that whole piece of answering someone's questions and providing information is basically what AEO is. It's answers engine optimization. It's almost like taking your FAQ section and making it into something that's good. But I mean, this has been happening for years. It just keeps getting repackaged up into these bundles. That's the same shit over and over.
Well, you know what? Any query, any voice activation, whatever, is usually in the form of a question. It usually isn't say find for me, who has, that kind of, it all starts out with some kind of a questionable, or not question. And I think it's just getting more complex. I mean, the questions get more detailed. So I think that's affecting some of your keyword pieces in that as well, because it's getting a little longer. I know that's a whole different thing on that, but it's really, what questions what content are you providing to provide the answers to those questions? That's where I feel like it's going. Do you agree with that? Or
I agree with that. I agree with it to a point, but I don't know if the questions have gotten more complex or if we just have more search engines now.
Okay. Well, because you remember back, they used to, the near me movement, if you will, find near me this. Now I'm saying find a dentist near me. Now I may be saying find a dentist located in Greeley, Colorado that works on children. So you may it gets a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more complex on the question, but as far as but that's just because of the search engines are smarter now. I think they've always been smart. I think it's just easier to use the voice activation to be more complex. Maybe that's the, and when I say voice activation, I don't mean Siri and Alexa. I mean, just a query that's verbally done versus typed in, kind of with your mobile device.
You've gotten more search engines. So you have Alexa, you have Siri, you have Cortana, you have Bixby, you have Maps, you have Google, you have Bing, you have, all these AIs. And speaking of AIs, you have ChatGPT. which I've got the ChatGPT app on my phone. I can't show you because my phone glare ends up being there, but there's a button inside of ChatGPT that I can hit. It's a little black button with some lines on it, but I can hit that button and I can say this. Can you find a dentist in Greeley, Colorado, please?
In Greeley, Colorado, there are several options for dental care. Some notable practices include Dentist of Greeley on Center Place Drive, Greeley Dental Care on West 20th Street, and Ascent Family Dental on West 12th Street. Each offers a range of services to meet your dental needs.
Which one has the best reviews?
Bagley Family Dental and Greeley Dental Care both have excellent reviews with ratings of 4.9 out of 5 on Google. Aspen Dental also has a strong 4.9 rating on Bird Eye.
Which ones would be good for kids?
Bagley Family Dental and Greeley Dental Care are both highly rated and known for being family friendly, making them great options for kids. They focus on creating a comfortable experience for children.
So when you added for kids, it wasn't even the same first three, was it?
I don't think so. It might have been.
I don't remember now.
But it starts to change its search queries by what you're asking. So yes, your questions have gotten more complex in that scenario, but you're having a conversation, which then brings in natural language marketing, or NLM, if you want to put an acronym on it.
Yeah.
So natural language inside of your queries. And if you're not talking about the products and services that you're selling, which is what AEO is, what problems have you solved for somebody, which if you look at any of our stuff that we talk about, we say the best way you could possibly do this is start with video and then get the transcript, do your social, do everything, and talk about what you just did. If you're a contractor, you're going to talk about the bid you just did or what project you just did. Or, if you're a baker, you're going to talk about the cake you baked and what was unique about it. You can bring that into your marketing because people are looking for it. But if you're not talking about it and you don't have that data set around that and you don't have any information about it, and the data is just nothing but the content that you wrote. If you don't have that, you're not going to be able to, it's not even going to know to even say that you do that.
Right. Well, it's all about, we're back to that. It's all about content. I mean, you've got to talk about what you do. It may be in the form of, like you said, like an FAQ section on your webpage, and maybe something you're doing on social media, and maybe in your blogs, but all those tie together. It's all part of the whole package. I mean, it really is. I mean, if you only blog about it, it may find it, but it may not. It depends on what you're doing with the blogs, how you're handling the blogs, that kind of thing. I mean, it gets into a lot deeper on how that information gets picked up by the search engines. But my thing is that, okay, you can do that question. Now, when you're using, like you use ChatGPT and AI, when I use Alexa or some of those other voice devices, I'll ask the question, I'll get my answer. I can come back a half hour later and get a totally different answer.
You could say it right afterwards and possibly get a different answer.
Yeah.
And you could ask this Alexa that question, and then you could go to another Alexa and ask the same question, you get a different result. And it's because of the things that have been searched previously. Everything has a history of what you've searched, what you've done, how you've done it, each of those pieces. And that builds up because it goes back to that piece that every search engine wants to deliver you the best result it possibly can. So that's going to change based on what that history is, and it knows that what you've searched. So even if your family's searching for something, a lot of that search history that gets kept inside of there, yes, your devices are listening to you all the time. Yes, they're putting all that together. The search engines are all inside of there. But a lot of it's based on your IP address. So if your wife searched for something or your kids search for something, that's going to influence what those delivered answers are. Plus, you have cookies and caches and all that inside of your own devices that are then making decisions because it wants to deliver the best result it can.
You know what I really find interesting, what I'm starting to see a little bit too, it knows what you're looking for at a particular time of day. Like if you at lunchtime, when I go look at things or I'm looking for something, I get more restaurant results. I mean, things pop up for me. So so obviously it's listening to us, paying attention to our search history, and creating a pattern for the end user that's requesting it. So that's another piece on that.
It used to be, you would go in and have to hire this assistant and do all this stuff, but now these digital assistants are with us all the time.
Right. No, but it's almost creepy and scary, but it makes it easier for me as as a consumer to find what I'm looking for. I don't have to go through and do go through the whole process each time. So it works to your advantage. It can work to your disadvantage. If you're not getting your content out there, it's going to hurt you. But do you think you can push yourself up on those searches? Yeah. By just putting more content out there? Then I mean that's where I think a person needs to go.
By putting more quality content out, like using the social media suite to do that and to be able to start blogging, those are going to be huge pieces. Putting some video into there's also going to be a big piece. I mean, it all depends on how you're going to look at that whole entire section. Right. But one thing this has really changed for, and I haven't really thought of, we've talked about the yellow book and how you used to have to get in there once a year, but you had to wait for that to come out. So if you started your business 6 months before that book came out, you had to rely on word of mouth to really get yourself out there. You had to worry about everybody inside of your Rolodex to know this is the people I could call and what I could come back to. But in today's world, you can start a business, get yourself listed, and really start getting that all the way going. And that's why I really like that whole concept we talked about the other day of the tree, and wherever all your listings data is down here is the root structure, your tree trunk is your website, and then you have branches, and those branches have social media, and then they have smaller branches off of them. There's Facebook and all that, but everything is connected and everything comes together to bring that data piece, because all these networks are looking at it in different ways. And when we really look at it big in there, think about how much this has changed. The very first time we even started Simply Be Found, even started going down this road, was when I came into your place as being a client of mine for my marketing company at the time. Yes. And asking about voice search, and I had you do that voice search inside of Siri. But look what I just did inside of my phone.
Right. I mean, that first search was based on, it's still a geolocation to a point, but now you can actually skew that, I think, a little bit too by the question. I may be 60 miles away and say, I want a dentist up in Greeley, Colorado. It's going to look for dentists in Greeley, Colorado versus from their geolocation point. So some of those things that are pinpointing where you're being found, I might go after somebody real quick, the dots and the squares again. That's going to change that whole algorithm on that. I mean, where searches happen from aren't going to necessarily be in your service area, but they're looking in your service area because if you're, like some of the rural places in Colorado, they come into the metro areas and they may do a search in 100 miles away instead of within 15 miles away. So now that I just thought about that.
Location marketing can always be changed by the location that you're going for. And this gets used a lot inside of those rural areas, but it gets used a lot for travel areas as well. So if you're a restaurant or a travel destination, then that whole entire piece is going to be a huge thing to be able to do, because someone might say, I'm looking for, golf cart rentals inside of Anna Maria, Florida, and it'll come up inside of that search for all those places that you could go to. But you have to remember that's a major piece of what everybody's looking for, and people are using their voice more than they ever did. And most people don't even realize they're using AI, but they are. AI is artificial intelligence. Siri since day one has been AI. Alexa's been AI, and they're at the end of the day, all they are is an algorithm to be able to deliver you information. Technically, Amazon, when you go in, or Walmart's shopping app, when you go in and put it into there, that whole entire experience is AI, because what it's trying to do is trying to sell you other products, trying to take you on your journey to walk you all the way through. So it's not just about the local business. Local businesses, if they don't keep up and they don't do these things, they're going to be left behind, because marketing is going to be dead the way we know it. It's absolutely dead. And if you're not making those changes, your business has a higher chance of not surviving as well.
Gotcha. So you said marketing as we know it is dead. What do you think about SEO and the new AEO piece? Is
It's
it
dead.
still, it's dead too. It's gone.
But you know what?
But
It's
different.
the
It's
same
shifted.
stuff. It's just a different twist.
That's what I'm saying. It's moved from, it's like a revolution. It started here and now we're over here, if you will. It's not a
Yep.
movement. It's going to be constantly changing, kind of thing. I don't like the idea of a movement because it's dynamic. It's going to keep moving forward, and it doesn't stop, if you will, because it's always going to have new stuff.
But the biggest thing, I've been saying it for years, is what's dead is it being not. It's not static. It's organic, and it's constantly changing. I mean, I liked the other day when we talked about the forest and having all the different companies out there, and you're just one tree in the forest, and how you build your whole tree is going to be if you're going to be the one that gets noticed when they look into the forest of trees to decide which one to come to. But the big thing that has changed is when they look into that forest, they're not just coming through one gateway.
Right.
And so many marketers are still hung up that the biggest gateway is Google. I Googled it. I'm good. I'm number one on Google. I see home contractors. I saw a landscaper this morning when I was doing school run at the girls. I saw that there's a landscaper in front of me and it says my reviews on Google are 5 stars. Well, for one, I would never put 5 stars on any of my marketing because I wouldn't want 5 stars because that could hurt you more than help you because you can't make everybody 100% happy. And what happens if you're not 5 stars anymore?
Right.
But why are you focused on Google? Yes, it's a name recognition. Yes, it does that, but it's about you and what you're going to solve for that customer.
Right.
It's not about that one place. And a lot of marketers go and they aim and they've conditioned business owners to think this way and to think that Google is the powerhouse. Yes, they're a powerhouse, but they're not the only powerhouse out there. I mean, look what I just did with ChatGPT, which pulls most of its information from Bing.
Right. No, that's what people don't understand is that directories, information, all that data that's being sent out there is being sent to more than just one search process, if you will. I mean, it's shared. And that's that whole piece with the roots. You have to build that whole piece with the information, build it up from there and hold everything. But you kind of made a comment and I just lost my train of thought. It had to do with the, putting your information out there. The term Google is like, it's become people are doing searches and they say, how'd you find me? And they say, oh, I Googled it. Oh, wait,
the Kleenex.
Yeah, I mean, Kleenex, refrigerator. I mean, over the years, it's been that way, kind of thing. But that's what I think people get hung up. They think it's only Google because of the use of that noun, if you will, or that verb. Because I guess it's a verb because they Googled it. And it may have been they Siri'd it, but they think, oh, I just did a search and they called it a Google kind of thing. So I think that perception and Google's really positioned themselves in a place where people think everything is Google, but it's not anymore. It's really shifted.
Well, it's taken a major dynamic shift. I mean, there was search engines before Google, and I mean, they're still out there, and some of them use that same indexing. It all depends on which one's going to give you the best resource to be able to put it in there. I mean, but as a business owner, do you care where they really found you?
Right. No, and really, and I think if people get hung up on the 3-pack or being seen, it's all about not so much positioning, it's the paying customer. That's the bottom line that's what we're trying to do is get that paying customer to contact your business. And I don't, it's a position. I don't, people get hung up on that. What's your, I know that we heard the top 3 on that ChatGPT. So I've heard that people say it's dead, but now I'm going to rescind that thought process. I think it's not dead. It's just shifted again, like we talked about.
It's that you want your business to rank and don't worry about the top 3. Don't worry about any of those pieces. So I had a conversation with someone that's on our new podcast assistant to be able to help do some of these podcasts and book things as we kind of get this going, because you and I only have so much time of the day and most of it is spent doing marketing, coaching, and we coach people on doing this, and that's how we come up with our topics, and kind of we get to touch and see so many different businesses when it comes to that. And I was going to go, so what I was talking with her about is she goes, well, some of your videos only have, 5 to 10 views on it. But when I look at those 5 to 10 views, I've got a watch time of almost 60 to 70%. So when I look at that as a data scientist, and from just having my background of business consulting, business structures, and bringing that data into it and bringing everything in, I don't care how many views I got on something. I've never sold anything based on the number of views. Now, since we're not big enough yet for YouTube to give us a paycheck, I would love to be able to get there. So make sure you like, subscribe, make sure you watch the hell out of our videos. But it's one of those things to where if we get 1 to 2 sales out of every 10, I really don't care how many there are. If I help 1 to 2 people, I will also be happy. So if I have 10 views, I sold 2 people, and I helped 2 people that got some information and went and did some stuff on their own, I'm happy. That brought me value as a business owner.
Right. But when you talk about the views, we were just looking at our YouTube videos this morning. I have one video that has 4,000 views on it. We may have had 5 sales off of that 4,000 views.
You're talking about the beware of voice search scams?
Yeah, that one there with me and my blue tractor, kind of thing. And
that one we've probably gotten hundreds of sales off of.
Yeah, but I'm just using it for an analogy. Come on. Anyway. But
hey, I'm giving you kudos. Accept it, damn it.
Kudos. I'll take it. But no, it's like 4,000 views is great. But if you had a video that did 20 views and you made 1 sale, which is better? I mean, it all gets down to how do you get that paying customer? And it's everybody's in market. And when I say in market, everybody's looking for your product or service at some point, probably. But where they're at in the purchasing process may be different, but they're in market. And that's the whole point of the videos is sometimes it gets that information out there. They may have a touch on it. Then they're going to come back later and they're going to look at your website. But, it doesn't mean it's going to be a click through to your website or a touch to your website. But it's all part of the whole process of that information piece that's out there for the content.
And the thing is, you might put something out there and it might not get anything and it might sit there. So say you write a blog, say you put out a video post, say you put out something inside of Facebook. Facebook, it's kind of iffy inside of this topic. So let's stay blog and video. So you put that out there. Nobody looks at it for 6 months.
Right.
You get 0 views. You get 1 view. Let's say a year down the road, boom, it goes wild.
Right.
I mean, that's how content works. It can sit there for absolutely ever and never do anything, but then all of a sudden it starts going. Now, there's all kinds of different predictions of what it is. It might just be the way the market is. That's why if you're like a contractor and you have a seasonal kind of business, you have to be going through and putting content out all year long.
Right.
And the evergreen content is really important to those industries because they can put that out there and you never know when it's going to come back up and you can talk about it.
Exactly. And you said something that triggered something. And once again, I lost my train of thought because I was listening to you and I instead of applying to my next answer. But no, it really is important for that information, that content to go out there. So I'm just babbling right now because I lost my train of thought. I'm going to turn it back over to you. Let you go with where you're going.
I mean, but getting that content out there, not being afraid to get that content out there is important. I mean, if we look at business owners in general, for our member base, we have people sign up and they don't even know what we do, but they know they need it.
Exactly.
I mean, and we build a connection, and there's a whole concept to that as well. But there's times that nothing ever happens from it. There's times I get to go through and eat crow and say, guess what? I was wrong.
Right.
Because it's changed inside of there. But the one thing that hasn't changed is you've got to get out there. You've got to put your information out. You have to be able to see it and be able to do it. That's why the social media suite is so important.
Exactly. And you were talking about things just laying out there and we're talking about AEO. And my prediction is that you're going to start getting all you business owners out there listening. You're going to start getting people calling you saying you're not an AEO position with your business. And I don't know what that approach is going to be, but that's going to be the new buzzword. I think it's going to come. Because remember, for a while there, it was all just voice recognition, and then it shifted to Google, then it shifted to whatever. I think the AEO is going to be the next buzzword you're going to be hearing, and people are going to be looking for that information. They don't understand what this is.
It's one of those things to where I predict that you're going to have to get in front of the tractor again here real soon and be able to do one about AEO scams. Yep. And I think those phone calls are going to sound like this. Is your business ready for AEO? You know, we just asked a question into Google and you weren't found. Did
Right.
you know that your business is not optimized when somebody's asking questions?
Right. I think you've nailed it. I think you.
I mean, that's what's going through my mind.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, that whole entire background, I used to train people to make phone calls and do those phone calls. I've consulted for marketing agencies, and heck, we still do.
Right.
And I think the funny thing is our systems power some of those people that are making those phone calls. We make money off of it. Well, I mean, it's one of those things to where we have a whole entire piece. I don't want to get into it too much, but it's absolutely huge. But we have the whole Copilot that's going to be, basically coming out in probably a few months. That's going to answer some of that stuff. And it's going to go more in depth than we've ever went.
Right.
And we have tons of stuff inside of our development for that. But I predict that AEO is going to be a huge piece. You're going to be getting those phone calls. So I agree with you 100%. And I think that more of the phone calls are going to be about trying to be able to get you into their service. Now, what service are they going to offer you on the other end? Well, they're going to offer doing your social media for you and doing social media posts. Now, how long does it take to really do social media? I think it takes less than an hour a week.
Right. I would probably agree with that. I mean, depending on how much content you're putting out there, but even still, once you get started, you can turn a lot of stuff real fast.
You can. And if you start with the video, like I always talk about, because I love video, because YouTube is one of the number one search engines out there. Again, it's another search engine.
Right.
I mean, ChatGPT is a search engine. Claude's a search engine. Bing's a search engine. Siri's a search engine. All of them are search engines.
Right. And it's starting to use the AI platforms. A lot of those search engines are using AI of some form. Because it's basically it's improved the quality of the search for the end user.
Well, the technology's changed. The way we
Right.
index things is different, which means the way that we rank things and the way we interact with the data is different than what it was 5 years ago. And the big thing that's changed, I mean, we just released out some new chips, and the software's not even developed to be able to even work with those quantum chips.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you have the chips that could process a lot faster than what anything we've ever seen is. Microsoft came up with one. Google came up with one. I'm sure a couple other companies came up with different ones. But that's where you're getting into the huge supercomputers. And they're little tiny chips to be able to make all the processing power and the memory and how everything works. But inside of that world, the software is always behind the hardware. So back when I worked at HP, that was always the biggest complaint. Our hardware was always much bigger and had bigger scale in it for the engineers in those departments than what the software was to develop it out.
Right. Because the software engineers followed behind the hardware to try to figure out what they can do with it. So that's why it's always in a lag.
Correct. I mean, it's no different than the microscope that's behind you.
Yeah. I mean, it still works, but it's not what it isn't what you'd want to use today.
But you know what still works is that whiskey barrel behind me, and the whiskey
Yeah.
that came out of that was really delicious. I still have some.
Oh, geez.
But I mean, that's technology that had to be improved over the years.
Right. Well, but the parts of technology are still there. Yeah, you still like the microscope has the lenses and things like that. It's not accentuated with electronics, that kind of stuff. It doesn't have different lights. It uses a mirror for light on the bottom, for crying out loud, not a true light. But but what kids are using now in schools and stuff like that, it's improved. But just like my first typing, and we still call it typing back in those days instead of keyboarding, was a manual typewriter. It's nothing like what I use today, but it's made it better. The technology's made it better, made it easier for the end user, and that's really where we're at with this. But it's a software process versus a physical piece.
But we probably shouldn't talk about typing because remember, I was told once by someone from our past that I don't know how to type.
Yeah, I know. So those of you that are my age know what the home row location is. Rob has no idea. He just does this with his hands, but he types way faster and keyboards way faster than I do with traditional typing skills. But that, I digress on that.
Back in the day, Mavis Bacon tried teaching me the right way to type, and I got really mad at Mavis Bacon and told her I knew better than her. Or is it Mavis Bacon or Mavis Beacon? I don't remember. If you remember, put it inside of the comments on this because I say that and I feel like most people have no idea what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah. So,
everything's the same. So technology's gotten better, and things have progressed faster than we've ever seen it. And now you're starting to see the software catch up to that hardware piece, and you're starting to see this piece. I mean, you got Elon Musk coming up with walking robots and all these different companies coming up with that whole AI piece. Still creeps me the hell out. But how people are finding you has improved. So you said originally, Dean, and when we started this conversation that, search queries have gotten, queries have gotten more complex. And what I came back and said to that is, I don't think they got more complex. How we're searching got more complex. Then we went into the whole piece about how it's more of a conversation with the search engine versus being static. So it used to be when you'd go into Google, you typed in one thing, and this still happens to a point. But now it's became a chat where you can go back and forth, and it'll go through and dissect the information that it came back with even more.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you 100%. I still type in on a Google or whatever you want to call it. I still type in some things, but if I want to deep dive, I get into more of I get more natural language with my AI and talk to it versus type to it. But I can also type to it if I don't have my microphone hooked up to my computer. I can still do that because I use a desktop that I don't really have my microphone turned on all the time. So, but that's just me because of my age group. In your age group, it's a whole different world. And my kids who are young adults, they use it way more differently than even you and I do. And because they're more comfortable with the technology. So I think it really depends on your comfort level and how you use the technology, how complex it gets. I think it depends on the end user to a point.
I think it does, which is a very unique piece. So that's our predictions for AEO. That's our predictions for kind of what search is and where it's at and how it's kind of changed. I think that kind of breaks it down. Is there anything else you want to add to today's conversation?
No, I think we've pretty much beat this one up. I think we can call it good for the day. So
all right, let's go ahead and let's call it. If you have any questions, you want to join us on the podcast, or inside of the huddle, I guess. We're a podcast, but we're a huddle. Yeah. And definitely reach out to us. We're going to have a page on the website. If you go down in the junk drawer, which is the footer, in select podcast, and you can actually see all of our podcasts that we've done. You can go through and join our podcast and take your and be able to be part of this. And you can even promote your own business and talk about what you do. And the reason why we keep everything so raw inside of the podcast is because we want to have real conversation. So even if you're one of our competitors, I've invited multiple of our big competitors to come in and have a conversation. And because there's more than one way to be able to do it. We're not always right. And it'd be really good to debate our different topics and how we see it. So if you disagree with what we said on today's podcast, come join us and let us know how you disagree. Yeah. And we'd love to have a conversation face to face and battle it out and see what comes of the conversation. And we'll probably walk away with new ideas and thoughts around the whole thing. But thanks for joining us today. Make sure you make sure you subscribe, and listen to the podcast on the go. We're on almost all the podcast networks that are out there, Apple, Spotify, and all that.
All right. But thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye now.